Adam yawned. It had been several long days between travel and catching up on chores and work. He was tired, but sleep wouldn't come. His little sister was crying. The baby's wailing kept the whole house awake. Even when she finally fell quiet, he couldn't sleep. And he grew thirsty. He got up and moved through the house. Even without a light, he could find his way. He only stopped by a window, where a large bird flew past. His hazy brain didn't recognize it. But he gave it no thought until he made his way back. He saw a hunched figure creeping through the house. His heart raced as he gave pursuit to his parents' room. They were sound asleep and couldn't notice the figure crouching over the baby. Welcome to Mythical Phylogeny Adventures. I'm your guide, Jason. Today we meet an ill-fortuned bird which preyed on the young, the misfortunate Strix. The night has been a dangerous time for ages for humans. How many dangerous monsters have we spoken of which are spawned by the night? Vampires, werewolves, ponotri, and more. Among their numbers is the Strix, a creature which appears as a nocturnal bird, usually an owl. They are said to appear as white or pale gray color. Their beak is curved and yellow with sharp talons. It will hang upside down from branches. It shrieks into the night. She can slip through any physical barrier, but magical ones can stop her. Sight of them is said to bring ill fortune. At worst, death will be coming. But over the ages, their story has changed. In time, they became associated with witchcraft. And from there, the idea that the Strix was an evil shapeshifter who would take the form of a hunched and ugly old woman. She has a hunger for human flesh, particularly that of infants. She will rip their bellies open, spill their intestines, and drink the blood. When it wasn't eating children, it was said to spit poisonous milk onto the lips of children. It will also take advantage of the father and steal his life force via sex. The origin of Strix comes from a Greek legend, and over 2,500 years old. And guess what? It really shows the Greek gods as real nasty people. Ares had a mortal granddaughter, Polyphant, and she had no interest in marrying, and chose to serve the virgin goddess Artemis. Of course, Aphrodite got mad. The goddess of love had a plan for the young maiden, and in her fury cursed the young woman to fall in love and have relations with a bear. And of course, Artemis finds out, and is furious at this betrayal of her vows and nature. Polyphant is banished, returned to her father, Hipponas, and her mother, Thrasa, daughter of Ares. A female servant was placed to help Polyphant. There, Polyphant would give birth to twin sons of incredible size, Agris and Orius. These young boys grew fast and strong. They respected no man or god. They were terrors so horrible, even Zeus was forced to take action. He sent Hermes to intervene, but Ares intercepted Hermes, and in a bit of great grandfatherly courage, sought to protect his family. But the punishment had to be fulfilled. Rather than death, the household was turned into birds. Agris was turned into a vulture, Orius an eagle owl, but Polyphant was made into the Strix. All were unclean and foul birds. Lastly, the lady-in-waiting, who prayed to the gods, was made into a woodpecker. Strix appeared in another tale. Prince Porcus was the 12th king of Alba Longa, and the great-grandfather of Romulus and Remus. When he was only 5 days old, the nurse stepped outside to tend to a few issues, and when she returned, she found scratch marks on the baby's cheek, and he had grown pale from blood loss. She sought out the nymph, Karna. She would perform a ritual using the entrails of piglets. mixed with herbs, namely garlic, and branches from trees to ward off Strix. Yeah, that is a bit to start with, isn't it? Let's start with a few things. Why is the Strix said to hang upside down? Some speculate that the Strix wasn't a bird, but a bat. Well, I have heard several sources say that the ancient Greeks didn't have a distinction between birds and bats. This I don't know. Now, it might come as a shock, but I don't actually speak ancient Greek, nor do I know anyone that lived 2,000 years ago. So I haven't found anything that proves that connection. So why would a bird hang upside down? Well, there are several types of birds which will eat upside down, such as the nuthatch and the hanging parrots of southeastern Asia. So it isn't that unheard of, just not common for owls. Can we pinpoint what breed of owl Strix is? We are looking for a whitish owl in Greece. One option would be the Tangmelm's owl. It is mostly brown, but has white spots. Not a perfect match, but most likely this is an atypical appearance for any species of owl. Some stories speak of the Strix spitting a poisonous milk onto the lips of babies. Now, when you think of milk, you think of the milk that mammals produce in the mammary glands. But birds do have something called crop milk. It is a substance produced in a part of the throat called a crop, and both male and female birds produce it, with a few exceptions. And guess what? Owls do produce crop milk for their young. Now, this isn't normally poisonous, but that is actually a fairly simple change. There isn't any information on the type of poison it uses. So, what about birds drinking blood? And have you heard of the vampire groundfinch? A blood-drinking bird? Yeah, birds do this too. So a blood-drinking owl? Overall, pretty simple, until we get to the shape-shifting and its ability to enter any home with ease. Well, the latter is likely a connection back to its shape-shifting. It can flatten out to squeeze through any opening. The Strix was said to assault men in their sleep. Well, it seems that the curse which drove Polyphant to get impregnated by a bear may still be in effect. How does it work? We know that Strix drink blood. Blood is considered the purest form of life force. Yet there are other sources, such as semen, which is something she could be taking. But that isn't life force in itself, which means this act has a magical component. There isn't much else on its magic powers. Of course, when it is mentioned, it is as a witch taking that form. Lastly, I talked about the Striga before, a form of vampire with owl-like traits. It would seem that the Strix and Striga are closely related. Perhaps the harpy is another close relative. The Strix is dangerous, and you'll need to protect yourself. It has the form of a bird. This is what much of the battle will be against, but this is an owl. That means silent flight, and owls are quiet. I've had an owl fly so close to my ear that its feathers brushed my cheek, and still it barely made a sound. Between silent flight and low light at night, this is going to be difficult to find. Yes, it is a whitish gray, but still hard to see. A spell of dark vision or night vision would be critical. That will help you find it. Now, fighting a bird isn't easy. They are highly mobile and good evasion. You'll have your work cut out for you. We need to clip its wings. Normally, I would recommend using a net to catch the bird, but not here. Remember, Strix can slip through any door or obstacle, which means you'll be able to slip through any net. Ice may be another story, assuming that you can fully encase it in ice. If it can't move, it may not be able to shapeshift, and doubly so if it is frozen solid. I'll need to do a deep dive on the exact mechanisms on shapeshifting to determine if freezing may prevent it from changing. But right now, it would make logical sense. Lightning magic can strike a flying creature with good aim, and that can be devastating against Strix. Try it. Fire will be a little more difficult, but effective with an area of effect attack. But this is a bird, and birds do have one major weakness. If you know how to use it, tell me, do you know about the canary in the coal mine? Due to the lung design of birds, they are more susceptible to poison gas. The Strix shall fall from it before you do. Well, that should be the plan. You know what they say of the best laid plans. Be careful with this one. Holy magic is questionable in how effective it could be. It would warrant testing, but a paralysis spell or hold spell should incapacitate it. In its bird form, it has a sharp beak and claws, which can rip open a defenseless baby. This isn't too out there from normal birds. That means any armor will protect you, but it will go for your eyes. Having a helmet on wouldn't hurt. For weapons, I choose a bow, something that attacks at range. You'll need to be quick, so practice with it before. But Strix has another major weakness. There are multiple defensive spells which can protect you. Be sure to place them in your home. If you can't perform them, the nymphs do. You can ask them for assistance. Garlic being useful here. These could be standard home security precautions in a fantasy world. It does have one range attack, sort of. The poison milk it produces. It probably doesn't have much range, but could have an effect and may take a few minutes. It doesn't kill an infant quickly. I'd keep an antidote handy just in case. The last issue is if it takes human form. Now you're facing something that is roughly your equal. It is described as a hunched over form. In this form it can use weapons and fight like a human, yet is never mentioned carrying any, so it will need to rummage for some. Overall, this isn't a major jump in power, assuming that it isn't a witch with magic. That is a questionable link. Strix is a difficult foe. It relies on stealth ability to get into your house and take advantage of you while everyone else is asleep or absent. Yet it lacks power in both its bird form and the form it takes as a human. Either form you should be able to handle. Overall, this foe is best countered before the battle begins. And why I'm giving the Strix a 2 of 10 for difficulty. The only thing that could make it difficult is if it is a witch. That would kick it up a couple of notches. When Strix are slain, you can try and eat it, but it is viewed as an unclean animal, and most wouldn't. Yet there is a good chance the remains could be used by an alchemist and potion maker. It may take some clever skill to make it work, but there is the poison from the crop, and an assassin could employ it. This seems to require ingestion, or placed on the lips to work. So put it in food, or coat silverware with it. Should you work with one? No, not a chance. Strix are too malicious to ever attempt to work alongside one under any condition. Don't try it. Slay it, and then walk away. That is my recommendation. Adam recognized the figure in an instant. Fear and adrenaline flooded him. He called his magic and let forth flames which struck the Strix in its human form. Its cry awakened his parents. His dad instantly noticed the threat. He leapt from the bed and grabbed his axe from nearby and swung. The Strix dodged by changing shapes into a bird, but his mother was too fast. She recited a simple paralysis spell, which caused the Strix to fall to the ground. Adam's father dropped the axe right on the bound bird, slaying it. Their mother rushed to the baby's side. She was fine. Everyone spent the rest of the night awake. The Strix can be a dangerous foe, to be sure, yet easily thwarted if prepared. Thank you for watching, adventurers. Please return next time for the Sigbin. Until then, I'll see you on the roads.